The movie opens with George, a secret government agent, tracking down a dangerous man, and his team surrounds the perimeter. As he and a few other agents enter the building, they find Joseph, who's working as a janitor in the building. George then reveals to be from the government, then asks Joseph to come with them, and Joseph realizes who they work for, throws his broom at them, and then runs away, and the team surrounds him in the storage unit, so he uses his special powers to jump from the floor and break out of the roof. The agents then follow him and corner him on the roof, and they manage to take him down by using a special taser that knocks him out. They then inject him with a serum that disables his powers and take him back to a secret facility. George then meets up with Captain Williams, who was leading the program. Williams has told George that these genetically enhanced human beings are very dangerous and kill people, which is why George joined the program, but when he confronted Joseph, he just ran. Williams explains that these humans are also deceitful and advises George to be very careful with them, and he also informs him about one enhanced that had been killing his own kind, and no one really knows who exactly is doing it, but the powers used to kill matches an enhanced person. On the other side of the city, another enhanced human named Anna was working in a car garage, and she helps Danny with work, and he was helping her get a fake passport so she can escape to China and never be found by the government. The next day, Danny is visited by Marco and his men, and he's made a deal with them to get the ID, but they change their mind and ask him for more money, and he tells them that he doesn't have any, so Marco tells his men to grab Danny and he starts beating him up. Anna, seeing this, gets pissed off and uses her powers to knock out everyone, but one gunshot that was meant for her misses her and hits Danny, wounding him fatally. Anna then calls the police and takes her passport and runs away. George's team intercepts the call and they realize that an enhancement was involved, and they then track her using a special watch that can track the signal that enhanced people emit. She was scrambling to look for supplies when she gets approached by a man, and he tells her that he's here to help her, but she doesn't believe him and pushes him away with her power. She then steals a truck and drives away, but she gets followed by George and Scott as he was driving in the highway, and she notices them following her, so she changes roads and goes into a farm field. George then tells his team to converge on her location, follow her with the drone, and suddenly there's a burst of energy that shuts off all the devices, including her truck. And in that instant, George's men start to surround her. George orders her to come out of the truck with her hands in the air, and Anna complies. Scott then searches her truck and finds her passport, and George then asks her why she was going to China and why she killed Danny. Anna tries to explain that she tried to help Danny and tells him that she didn't kill him, but he doesn't believe her. His team then start tasing her with a power surge on their watches, and Anna then uses a force field to push everyone off of her, and she then starts running away. She makes it into a small cabin, but George finds her trail and follows her. Anna ambushes him and overpowers him, but George then uses a flash grenade to block her vision and tases her, and he then takes out his injection syringe, but before he could inject her, another enhanced named David knocks him out from behind. David then drives the two into a secure place and then ties George up. Anna recognizes David as he's the person that broke into the facility and let the enhanced person escape. David then wakes up George and asks where the captured enhanced are, and George then refuses to tell David, so he decides to kill him, but before he could take his life, Anna steps in and asks for some time. David then gives them until the morning and leaves, and Anna asks George why he was hunting her down, and he tells her because she's a very dangerous killer, and tells her that he read her file, which reveals that she killed a lot of people, including her parents and her therapist. Anna then tells him that she was taken away from her parents at the age of 4 and doesn't even know who they are. A government organization by the name of SYSA then experimented on her and trained her to be a killer, and she then tells him that if she refused to kill, she would get punished extremely or even get killed herself. She also reveals to him that the reason her therapist died was because she gave her the name Anna instead of calling her by the assigned number, and the higher-ups saw this and she was executed in front of Anna for humanizing her. George didn't fully believe this story, but he knows that he hadn't been told the full truth about the program. In the morning, we see George's team tracking the signal to try and find Anna, and suddenly their watches start beeping and reveals that there's an alpha type in the area, and Scott had been told that there are no alpha humans, so he thinks that it's just a bug, but then he comes face to face with David. The team then tries to attack David, but he easily kills them, and Scott then manages to tase David from behind, and he injects him with the power disabling serum, but David was unaffected, and he takes everyone out except Scott, who manages to escape and go back to HQ. Meanwhile, George was asking her to release him, and he tells her David is dangerous and might be the one killing his own kind, but she doesn't believe him. And Joseph, who's now in possession of this red blinking device, attacks Anna, and while the two fight, George manages to untie himself and inject Joseph with the serum. George was shocked to see Joseph as he was told that he will be eliminated after being captured, and Anna explains to him that the red blinking device is a reprogramming tool to use the enhanced without their consent. She tells him the government uses the enhanced as weapons and informs him that everything that he'd been told was a lie. And George, seeing Joseph, completely believes her and decides to help her escape. The two then run away and make it onto the main road, which is why when they get approached by the guy that tried to help Anna earlier, he tells them to get his car and he drives them to his house, and he introduces himself as Eli and also introduces an enhanced named Lou who lives with him. Eli then reveals that he used to work for SYSA as an analyst, and he didn't even know that they were actually experimenting on people, and that he only found out once the facility got attacked by David and he was saved by Lou. Eli then reveals that the company was experimenting on creating a super serum and that they were able to break into another dimension which has infinite energy and no entropy, but to be able to harness the energy, they needed to get the source, which was David. Eli then tells them that David is not actually a human and that he's an interdimensional being that is pure energy, and since his dimension doesn't have entropy, he doesn't age nor does he die, but when the company absorbed some of his energy and injected it into humans, David lost his ability to go back into his dimension. David desperately wanted to go back, so he was tracking down all enhanced human beings and taking back their power, which kills them in the process, and once he has full power, he can open the door to his dimension and go back. Eli had been trying to find a way to stop David, but he was getting stronger every time he kills an enhanced person, so now the only way to stop him is to weaken him so he doesn't regenerate and then kill him. George then decides to go back to headquarters and warns everyone, as he believes with their weapons they can stop him, but before he can leave, David arrives at the door. Eli then tells them to run through the back door, and he and Lou stay to stop David. The two hold David down for a few seconds, but David was too powerful and kills the both of them. He then catches George and Anna as they try to escape by a car, and he breaks down the car door and throws Anna away, and he then picks up a container and drops it on her. David then starts taking his powers back, but George stops him and tells him that he can take him to the place where all the captured enhanced are in, but only if he spares Anna, and David then agrees and the two of them drive to the HQ. Anna is left under the container and she musters up all her power to get out of it, and she then starts making her way to the headquarters. As they drive to HQ, George asks David what his goal is, and David tells him that this dimension is killing him and that he needs to go back, and he says every particle in this universe is disgusting, and he tells him that he pities humans for living in this kind of hellhole. While David was talking, George distracts him and he pushes him out of the car, and he then drives to HQ and rushes to warn everyone, but he gets stopped by the guards and they arrest him. He's then brought to Captain Williams and Scott, and he tells them about David and what he wants, but Williams doesn't believe him. Williams then reveals multiple reprogrammed enhanced people and says that he would deal with David using them. George then tries to explain that David will just get stronger the more he absorbs the power from the enhanced, but Williams doesn't listen to him and locks him in prison. Then suddenly, an alarm is set off, and when they watch the security feed, they see David taking out all the guards. Williams then sends the enhanced after him, but predictably, David takes them out easily as well and takes back his power. He makes his way to the room with Williams and Scott, and he kills Williams immediately, and he then turns to George and tells him that Anna will suffer because of him, and suddenly, Anna appears behind him and tells him that he can try. The two then get into a fight while George breaks out of prison by shooting down the door. David, now much stronger, then starts beating up Anna heavily and gets ready to finish her off, but George presses the emergency button, which releases a gas that disables all powers. And now, with no power left, David was weak, and Anna starts to beat him up, and she beats him down to the floor and picks up a gun. David then starts pleading for his life and begs her not to kill him, and Anna then hesitates a little bit, so George takes the gun and shoots David. 4 months later, George and Anna meet up, and Anna was working as a mechanic and living a simple life. George hands her the names of all the enhanced humans and tells her that she can help them get a normal life as well. As the movie ends, we see another enhanced being who's living a normal life, and he hears a ring on the door and opens it to see who it is, and he finds David standing there saying that he has something that belongs to him, and then the screen goes black and the movie ends.